Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the webinar on how to prepare for the Elastic Certified Analyst exam. My name is Rich Raposa. I'm the Senior Certification Manager here at Elastic. And, you know, we've done these webinars before. We have other certification exams. The whole point of this webinar is to really sort of put you at ease as you think about and prepare for the certification exam. I know that exams are stressful. I mean, I've been in the world of certification for a very long time. And so I really enjoy these webinars. I think as you're studying, you'll want to watch the webinar multiple times. You know, we've had an Elastic certification exam available for a couple of years now, just the one though. We've had this Elastic Certified Engineer exam. This was a very sort of focused on Elasticsearch type of exam where, you know, you have to set up a cluster and configure indices and write search queries. It was a very developer DevOps type focused exam. So we're very excited to release this new exam, and we just released the Analyst exam, you know, just a couple of weeks ago. It's a brand new exam. There isn't even 10 people certified yet. And it's based on, I shouldn't say it's based on, it's geared towards data analysts. So people who spend their day analyzing data, typically using Kibana. I mean, that's kind of the whole underlying part of all of this here. The assumption here is that you're an analyst who spends time, you know, using Kibana to analyze your data that's sitting in Elasticsearch. This blue box that says data analysis with Kibana, that's actually a training course that we have. You can take that course online, you can take that course virtually or on demand. And it is it's a 3-day course meant to prepare you for this particular exam. You do not have to take the course to attempt the exam. Anybody can attempt the exam if you're already familiar with Kibana. It's just something that we recommend. It's definitely, the exam is definitely geared towards that particular training course. So as we get started here, I just want to sort of explain what the exam is like. Now, some of you might have other certifications, and you might have other sort of preconceived notions of what a certification exam is like. I have to say that our exams might be a little bit different than anything you've seen before because they are hands-on. We call that performance-based. So these are performance-based exams. What does that mean? That means there's no multiple choice questions. That means that in the 2 hours that you have to take this exam, you're only going to have about 10 to 12 tasks. And I can tell you right now that the current version of the exam has 10 questions. Now there's different variants. So, you know, tomorrow there might be a different version of the exam with 11 tasks or 12. It'll be somewhere in that range. And so that's not very many tasks if you think about it over a 2-hour time frame. You know, you have a good 10, 15 minutes for each task. And what do we mean by hands-on? That means, and I'll show you what this looks like in just a minute. That means that I'm going to give you a Kibana instance, and you'll open up Kibana, and I'll tell you to do something. I'll tell you to build a dashboard or a map or run a machine learning job or something like that. So like I said, that might be different than what you're used to, but I'll say this. Like I said, we've been doing this for a couple of years, and I've been doing performance-based exams for about 6 years now. Great, people love it. I mean, really, it's a great experience. People say that the exams are challenging, but actually fun, and I think that's a big part of that whole hands-on experience. I'm sure you can answer multiple choice questions, but I'd rather see you do it. I'd rather have you drive the car instead of explain to me how to drive the car. So what's on this exam? Well, this is very important. To be fully prepared for the exam, you need to go to our website and read the objectives. And like I said, there's this course called Data Analysis with Kibana, and I certainly recommend, if you've taken the course, working through the labs. It's a great way to prepare. And I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to go to our website here. By the way, this is our FAQ page on our website. So if you go to elastic.co/training, you'll find a link to certification, and from there you'll find the FAQ page. This is a very important page. You're going to want to read this very carefully. Now we have a couple of exams, so the questions are sort of generic. Like for example, which version of Elasticsearch is the exam using? For the analyst exam, that's 7.6. That's a very frequently asked question. And you're going to want to come back to this web page before you take the exam to make sure that you've prepared for the right version. When we do update the exam to a newer version, we'll give you a 30-day warning, and it'll be here on the page. So you'll always know what version the exam's on. So I highly recommend reading this page. If you go to our certification page, you'll see that we actually have 3 exams: the engineer exam, which I mentioned, the analyst exam, which is why you're all here, and then an exam that isn't written yet, but it's coming soon, and that's our observability engineer exam. So that's a new one. But if you go to this certification page and you click on Become an Elastic Certified Analyst, this is a very important page. You're going to want to find this web page on our website, and you're going to want to go, if you scroll down, it has a nice description of the exam and sort of a generic overview of what's on it. But if you go down, you'll see the exam objectives, and they are all task-based objectives. For example, you should be able to define an index pattern. You should be able to set the time filter in Kibana. And I'll just, go down here. You should be able to create an area, line, pie, vertical bar, or horizontal bar visualization. You should be able to define a metric, a gauge, a table using TSVB, that's Time Series Visual Builder. You should be able to create a dashboard that consists of a collection of visualizations. You should be able to run a machine learning job, whether that's a single metric or a multi-metric or a population machine learning job. So to be fully prepared for the exam, you should be able to do all of these tasks, okay? And so that's kind of what this very first question here is, where I'm answering this. What's on the exam? Well, that's really what's on the exam. So where do I take the exam? You take the exam at home. The exam is only available online. So you have to use your computer, your laptop. You have to have a camera of some kind. Somebody is going to watch you take the exam. It's a live proctor. And so what they're going to do is when the exam starts, you got to make sure that your camera's all set up right. And they're going to be able to see your face while you're taking the exam. And they also see your screen. And we actually record your screen. We do not record your face at all. I'll never know what you look like. But I'll always be able to see your screen. When I can always go back and watch your entire exam. That gets recorded. And you'll have to make sure that your environment is properly prepared. You cannot have anything on your desk, no stray papers. You can't take notes or have a pencil nearby. You can have a drink of water. You can have maybe some snack to eat or something. If you don't think you can make it 2 hours, that's perfectly fine. But that's the only thing you can have on your desk. So that's very important that you have a nice, clean environment and also a quiet environment. If you have a dog barking in the background, or your kids are watching TV or something, the exam proctor is not going to let you take the exam if there's noise in the background. So, and a lot of this is on our FAQ page. So just some things to be aware of. How do you buy the exam? Where do you purchase it from? Well, you go to our website. I'm going to flip back over here. And when you're on the page for becoming a certified analyst, you'll see down the right-hand side, the exam is $300. That's per attempt. And you can just add it to your shopping cart. So we have a shopping cart system here at elastic.co. You'll have to log in and create an account at Elastic to check out. So it's $300 per attempt. You're going to get an email after you purchase the exam with instructions. Well, let me go back. You're going to get an email with instructions on how to schedule the exam. So after you purchase it, you pick the date and time. And it's not on our website. You're actually going to go to a different website called examslocal.com. You don't have to remember any of this. This will all be in an email that you receive after you register for the exam. You'll have to go to examslocal.com, create an account using the same email address that you used when you bought the exam from us. Now I'm just on the homepage of examslocal.com, and I just logged in, but if you wait a second, you'll probably see your exam show up here at the top. If you don't see it, you can type in Elastic down here at the bottom, and you'll see you'll see both of our exams. If you have any issue with trying to schedule a date and time for your exam, you can chat right here with somebody at PSI, and they'll help you as best as they can. So this is what it's going to look like. So I for some reason, I'm eligible to sign up for both exams. I must have purchased both of them. But you'll go through this wizard and pick, you know, the actual date and time. A couple of things to note. Once you schedule a date and time, you cannot change it if it's 48 hours or, you know, within a 48-hour window of the start time. So if you're outside of that 48-hour window, you can reschedule anytime you want. But once you get inside that 48 hours before your exam starts, you won't be able to reschedule it. And that's because PSI has to, you know, schedule real people to take the exam, or to watch you take the exam. So anyway, just some tips. And again, a lot of this is on our FAQ page. So that's how you're going to purchase the exam. You buy the exam from us, you schedule the exam at examslocal.com. When it's time to take the exam, you'll come back to examslocal.com, maybe like 15 minutes before your exam is scheduled to start, and you'll log in and you'll see a start button. And you'll have to talk to the proctor. You'll have to show the proctor your driver's license, your passport, some sort of valid photo ID so that they can verify who you are. You're gonna have to make sure your desk is clean, and they're gonna wanna see all that. You're gonna have to move your camera around, and then the exam's gonna start. And I'm gonna show you that right now. So I'm gonna show you what the exam looks like right now. It really is the big question. I realize that it's probably why you're all here, is to see what the exam environment looks like. And so when you get past all of the work of the proctor, and the proctor's happy with everything, they're going to send you inside an iframe, inside your web browser, they're going to send you to a web page, and it's going to look like this. In fact, this is almost exact. I think it's even maximized like this. I think this is exactly what you're going to see. This particular page is very important. In fact, I have in all capital letters, I'm begging you to read all of the comments below first. And I hope you do. They're not that many. So this particular version of the exam has 10 tasks. Tasks are not graded as right or wrong, which means you can get partial credit on a task. I highly recommend that you at least try all 10 tasks, even if you're kind of lost, or you think you can get it, or you can get most of the way there, because you will get partial credit for every piece that you do correctly. There's no order to the exam tasks. You can go back and forth. You can do them in any order that you're comfortable with. You can read all 10 tasks at the beginning if you want to, and then pick the order that you want. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, and I want to make this very clear. You have 2 hours to take the exam, and your 2 hours starts when you see this page right here. So all of the preliminary showing of your, you know, credentials, your ID, none of that counts as the 2 hours. So your 2 hours starts when this page comes up. There's a button here called Start Assessment. That takes you to task number 1, but it doesn't, but your clock is already started on the 2 hours. And you'll have to keep track of that yourself somehow. So make a note of the time on your computer or something so you know when your 2 hours is up. The proctor will tell you when you get close to the end. They'll give you a 30-minute warning and a 15-minute warning. But after 2 hours, they'll start the exam. Be careful naming things. If I tell you to make a dashboard and call it task 1, please call it task 1. These exams are graded with scripts. And if you don't call your dashboard task 1 and you spend 20 minutes making a beautiful dashboard, my script's not going to see it, and you're probably going to get a 0 on that task. So just be aware of that. It's very important that you name things properly. And I'll tell you what to call things in each of the tasks here. And then this says it's important. I need to define an index pattern, and you'll see more than one. This is a short example here. I'm only going to work through 3 tasks, but if you want, or if you see more, you can go through and create the index patterns right away. Notice Kibana's running. Elasticsearch is already running. I can click on this link, and voila, there's Kibana. You'll see the little welcome page, and that's the beginning of it. But again, my 2 hours has already started. Notice this is a brand new installation of Kibana. If you see a question about machine learning, and you will, you'll have to go in and start the 30-day trial on the Platinum license. I really didn't have a good workaround for that. You're just going to have to start the license yourself. And you can do that right here. If you go to the management page and go to license management, you can just start the trial. It's super easy to do. So in fact, I just did it right there just to kind of show you how to do it. So you can do that at the beginning of the exam or whenever. But if I go back here to the exam instructions, it's telling me to make an index pattern called stock prices using timestamp as the time filter field. Well, I'm in the management page. I'm going to go to the index patterns and let's create a new index pattern. It's telling me to call it stock prices. And I see that that's going to match an index called stock prices. So it looks like I'm on the right track. It told me to use timestamp as the time filter field. And so it looks like I'm ready to go. And again, you'll have to create more than one index pattern. So now you click Start Assessment, and here's what you're going to see. And I have to be very careful because I'm in a real exam environment, and I don't want to accidentally show you a real exam question. What I'm showing you here is task 1. Notice down the left-hand side, there's 10 tasks. Feel free to click on any of those tasks, and if you want to read them all at the beginning, if that makes you more comfortable, you can do them, do the easy ones first, whatever you think is easy. I'm just going to do them in order. I'm actually going to do this task as part of this webinar. It says right here, it's worth 15 points, which is a lot, by the way. That's a big chunk of for being one task, that's a big one. It says create a new dashboard on the stock prices index that satisfies the following requirements. It looks like I need to make a metric, a line chart, an options list, save the dashboard as task 1, and then I don't know, for some reason I'm very nice, and I actually show you what the final thing should look like. I don't do that on every task, but some of the tasks I actually show you the answer. So I'm actually just basically asking you to build this dashboard. And I realize the screenshot's a little small, but you can certainly see what it should look like. So let's do it. Let me do this. It says I need a metric that's got the maximum closing price of all stocks in 2018. All right, let's do it. That's a visualization. I will go to the visualization tab, create a new visualization. It sounds like I want a metric on the stocks prices index, and it is the maximum closing price. Did I read that right? Let me go back and make sure I'm doing this right. Maximum closing price for the year 2018. Well, right now it's showing me the last 15 minutes and I get 0. Well, that's because there aren't any stock data in here for the last 15 minutes. So I'm gonna have to change that. They said 2018. Let me go to January of 2018. I'm gonna go to January 1st for the start time, and I'll just go to December 31st of 2018. For the end, I'll just pick midnight or right before midnight. There's no stocks traded in the middle of the day. And there's my metric. I have no idea why it's so high. There is a stock out there that must be $456,000. I'm done, and I'm going to save it. So let me make sure that, yep, that looks right. So, oh, I got to hit play first. Here we go. All right. There we go. So the maximum closing price, $335,000. Okay. Did I do that right? January 1st, December. Oh, I picked the wrong date. Thank you. I couldn't figure out. Sorry, missed it. All right, I'm going to say that. It didn't tell me what to save this as, so I'm just going to call it task 1 metric. I don't care what you save it as. The grading script will figure it out. So that was part 1 of that. It says I need a line chart that has 3 lines on it. The minimum low, the maximum high, and the maximum close. Well, let's do it. Let me go back to visualizations and let's create a new one. Let's create a line chart on the stock prices index, and I need 3 lines. I need one that has the minimum closing price, or not closing price, I think it said low price. By the way, I got to go back and read this. It says, by the way, I wrote this question just for this webinar. The exam would be much more clear here. It should be for every day in the year 2000, not every, yeah, every day. I'm just going to create a date histogram here. And I'll be very specific. In the real exam, trust me, this is very specific. This is the minimum closing price. Well, that's one of the lines that I want. I also wanted a line called, I didn't tell you what to call it. I also want a line for the maximum closing price. So I'll add that one. So now I have two lines. And then I want a third line, and I know it doesn't look like this is a very exciting graph, but wait till I'm done. I'm going to add a third line. That's the maximum. What did I do? High, close. I need to do the high one. All right, so 3 lines. All right, so there's my 3 lines that's kind of all over the board, but that's what I asked you to do. And so I'm going to save that. I'm going to call that task 1 line chart. And then the third thing it's asking me to do is my dashboard needs to have an options list. I don't know if you're familiar with options list, but you need to be. An options list is something you can add to your dashboard that allows you to filter what you see on the dashboard. So, you know, somebody asked, is the snapshot part of the question as well? It absolutely is. I think when I get done with this, I expect my snapshot or my dashboard to look like that screenshot. It should be very close. And if it's off a little bit, I'll tell you that in the exam instructions. So what I want to add now is a control list. I want to add an options list for the stock prices, and I want to be able to pick a stock symbol. And again, this is all in the instructions. I'm just reading the instructions. So here's my stock symbol, or here's my option list of stock symbols. I'm going to save that as task 1 options list. By the way, this is taking a while. Well, and I'm going very fast because I already know what the question is. I expect this, if for 15 points, I would expect this to take you, you know, at least 10 minutes if you're super fast. Maybe 15 minutes if you're nervous. Try not to spend a half an hour on one task or you're in trouble. So now I need a dashboard. So I got my 3 visualizations. I've saved them all. I'm going to go to dashboards over here down on the left-hand side and create a new dashboard. Someone asked if you only get 1 monitor. You only get 1 monitor, correct. You can't have 2 monitors. So, I'm going to add the options list, the metric, and the line chart. And I'm going to move them around a little bit so it kind of looks like the screenshot. Looks like the metric was over here on the left and it was smaller. And the line chart was over here on the right. And I'll just try and make this look pretty. That looks pretty good. Could do a little better, but I don't really care. Don't forget to name it properly. And I'm going to store the time with the dashboard because the instructions specifically said that this dashboard should be for the year 2018. And so I'm going to store the time with the dashboard. I'm going to call it task 1. And there it is. So now I feel like I've done at least that part of it. Now my screenshot looks different. But if you notice here, it says after creating the dashboard, select the stock symbol for Microsoft, which is MSFT from the options list. So if I go back here, this is my dashboard. I should be able to pick a, stock from here. And if I do that and refresh it, I'm still in the year 2018, then that's going to filter, oh, what did I do wrong? Why is this not working? Well, I'm going to get this task partially right and partially wrong because for some reason my options list isn't working and I'm going to have to go back and edit it. I think there's a button missing. Here, let me edit this. It's my dashboard. It's not big enough. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. Sorry. There was a button here that you couldn't see. There we go. So that's January to December. The maximum price was 115. What does it say here? Oh, I must have the wrong screenshot. And by the way, I apologize for the inconsistency here. This should have matched perfectly, but I think my dates are different on here. If I could look closely, and I can't even read it. I might have made a mistake somewhere. I'm still feeling pretty good. I might have got the wrong date somewhere. It looks like I picked a year where it's going up here, and then in the picture it's going down. I'll probably get at least 10, 12 points on this task. So I'm gonna have to move on though, because I don't know what I did wrong. I definitely did something wrong. Either I made a mistake when I wrote this task and my screenshot was wrong. Either way, this is a very typical task, very typical of me to probably not get it right the first time. And nice. I mean, this is what I would expect you to see. When you're done with a task, this particular task doesn't have an answer that you have to type into a field or anything. So you just hit save progress and continue. And that's going to take you to the next task, whichever one is next. I have another one. I'm going to show you what task 2 looks like. So task 2 looks quite a bit different than task 1, which was 15 points, and it took me, 10, 15 minutes to build this dashboard. Task 2 is just a question. It says, which day in 2018 did Apple's stock have the highest closing price? Well, that's a very typical sort of question to ask, especially when dealing with stock prices. And notice for this particular task, I have to type an answer into this field. And I don't care how you find the answer, at least in this particular example, in this particular task instruction, I'm not telling you how to find the answer. I do make a comment here. It does say that whatever you did to find the answer, if you could save that as task 2, that would be very helpful. I think what I'm going to do, and I'll be honest with you, I can think of at least 10 different ways to answer this question right out of the gate. I'm going to create a new, just to show you how Lens works, I'm just going to go to Lens. It's super easy. You can answer so many questions with Lens. I have the stock prices index here. I can just take the high price, this field, and I don't know if you can see my mouse very well, but I'm dragging and dropping the high price field into the middle of Lens, and make sure the dates are right. This is January to December of 2018. Let me go back and read the question very carefully. Whoops, where's task 2? What day in 2018 did Apple have their highest closing price? And so, I mean, you can answer this question in a minute. Right now, the y-axis is the average of the high price, but I'll just put maximum high price and hit refresh. And this is per week. It's going to be right around here somewhere. And I don't know exactly which day it is because these are by week. So I'll have to change the Y. Yeah, see where it says timestamp per week? I'll have to change that to be daily. So did I say high price? I meant closing price. Thank you. I picked the wrong field. Here, let me start over. And there's a way, I could have just deleted that. Sorry, I could have just dropped that out of there. Thank you. I picked the wrong field. So take closing price, drop it into there. I don't want the average. I want the maximum closing price. Yeah, it's right around here somewhere. So it's going to be somewhere. Shoot, I need to change that x-axis. So yeah, maybe I should just use a metric. I kind of wanted to show you Lens. I suspect that some of you are not familiar with Lens. It's a really nice way to very quickly visualize a data, a field maybe you're not familiar with. It's just a really nice way to do it. But if I can do it here, I'll just do a date histogram. And then customize it by day. And this is a lot of buckets, but that's what I really should have done. And now I can see it here. I don't know what's with all the, I didn't mean to break it down that way, but it's in here somewhere. Oh, I need to put Apple in here. That's the problem. My symbol is Apple. And if I do that, I get a much cleaner looking day, I'm pretty sure it's October 1st if I did this before. Yep, there's the breakdown of the week. And on October, nope, it's October 3rd, I think. I don't know. This was not the best way to do it, but I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to flunk my own exam. I'm going to say 2018, October 3rd. A line chart would have been way easier. I think a metric would have been quicker. But I'll take a guess. Boy, be careful with that. The way the grading scripts work, you'll probably get, if you get the date wrong, make sure you format it properly. Year, month, day. If you put the wrong date in there, obviously you won't get any points. Now we do grade these manually. And this is a very important point I want to make. If you get the date wrong, the script will give you 0 points. But I personally look at every single exam. And if you save this as task 2, like I didn't do it, but I should. If this was my feeble attempt at answering this question, I would save this as task 2. And then I do not want this breakdown. This has got to go. This is driving me crazy. Here we go. Yeah. What was I going to say? I'm going to pick. No, that's okay. I'm just going to get that one wrong, I think. So, but my point is, I can manually look at your task 2 and say, oh, you know what? Rich at least created a lens, and he put the right query, which is very important. You know, I might give you a point or 2 just for putting the right query in the query box. You know what I mean? And so that's really, you know, be very careful that you're naming things properly, following the instructions properly, because you will get partial credit all the way throughout. That was only 5 points. If you hit save progress and continue, it'll take you to the next task. I wrote a task 3. Task 3 says add a scripted field to the stock prices index. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with this concept. If you're not familiar with scripted fields, it is one of the exam objectives. If I go back over here, you'll see that I mean, it very specifically says you should know how to define and use a scripted field for an index. So I'm not surprised to see a question like this. It's saying add a scripted field called daily dash change. And I'm just going to copy that. That's calculated by subtracting the low price from the high price. When you're done with that, I need to create a line chart that shows that. Well, let's do it. Anybody know how to create a scripted field? If you don't, and someone asked a really timely question, I wouldn't say the exam is open book, but you can go to elastic.co and go to our documentation. And you should absolutely, you know, browse and use the Kibana documentation. I mean, that's very important. So make sure that you know how to find it, and make sure you're familiar with searching it, because it's all right here. If you didn't know what a scripted field was, I suppose you could, you know, spend time trying to figure out what they were. That's risky. I hope you already know what a scripted field is. I hope you know that to define a scripted field, you go to where the index pattern is defined, and you'll see a tab called scripted fields, and you can add a new one. And the name of this scripted field that I gave you, I told you to call this field, notice I copied and pasted, daily dash change, and it's a number, so I'm okay with the number. I'm just going to format it as a number. And the formula is down here. I don't have time to explain the format of how Painless works, but we're supposed to take the high price value and subtract the low price value. This doesn't add a field to the index. It doesn't change the Elasticsearch index behind the scenes, but in Kibana, every time you pull up a stock price, an event from this data set, this calculation will get made. And it's a very nice feature of Kibana. It can be expensive. Be careful with scripted fields. But they can be super handy. I'm just curious to see what, in this case, what the difference is between the low and the high. For what it's worth, again, if you're not familiar with this, there's a little preview button here, and you can go to preview results. And if you have a typo or a mistake, it'll show up here. I don't have a mistake. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but at least my math is working in some way. So I'm going to create this field. I appear to have the right syntax, and it appears to be working. And then if you go back to the exam task, it says create a line chart that displays the maximum daily change for every day in 2018 and save it as task 3. So I'm going to create a line chart. I need a new one. And you'll notice now when I look at my fields here, what did it say to do it as? I think it said every day. Whoops. Every day in 2018. So shoot, I got to change my fields here again. I'm going to do that as fast as I can. Notice I'm clicking on the year, by the way. That's pretty cool. You can do that. So there's January 1st. There's December 2018, December 31st. I got the dates right. I want the maximum. And notice here, when I say select a field, daily change, which wasn't there before, is now a field inside this index. It allows me to do that. That's the overall change. If I want to split this into the daily change, I need a date histogram here on the bottom. And make sure that the interval you pick is daily, because I very specifically told you to show it to me by the dates. I should see, you know, several hundred dates here. Wow, this is a great, oh, there it goes. It was like, what a great demo. That's it. Told you to save it as task 3. So save it as task 3. I didn't show you the answer this time. And like I said, sometimes I show you the answer and sometimes I don't. For some reason, I decided to just have you figure it out this time. But that's it. So that was 3 tasks. Again, there's 10, and you can just do them in any order that you want. When you get to the end, and this, I've seen people send me emails afterwards and they kind of panic a little bit because they get to the very end of the exam and it says, for example, that task 1 was only viewed. But I did task 1. You saw me make that dashboard. Well, it's there. You viewed it, but you did it. There was no response. Task 2 says no response because I didn't click the button. I didn't say submit answer. I didn't hit save progress and continue. I'm afraid to do it because I'm afraid if I click on it, one of the real exam tasks might pop up. I'm hiding the real exam somewhere in this little setup I have. So I'm afraid to do it, but you'll see. So when you get to the end, I know it's kind of funny, but when you get to this screen, some will say viewed. That's because they didn't have a specific answer, but that doesn't mean you didn't do it. And then when you're all done, you'll hit complete assessment. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'll click on it, but yeah, it'll say, are you sure? And I'm not going to do it now because it's going to lock me out. That'll be the end. And the proctor is watching you, so the proctor knows it's over. But feel free to tell the proctor you're done if the proctor, for some reason, didn't catch that you're done with the exam. And then that's it. You're done. We'll grade your exam in 3 business days, roughly. I mean, it takes time to grade these. So this type field, like if it's just an instruction, you can only view it. But if the type field is text, then you should have submitted an answer. So that's what the type field means. And again, so somebody asked to explain the status again. Viewed means that you looked at it. But because it's an instruction, look, don't panic. There's nothing that you did that I did here that isn't going to get graded properly. So because it says I viewed task 1, don't think you didn't do task 1. You did. I did task 1 and I saved a dashboard. I can see it right here. If I go to my list of dashboards, I can see a dashboard called task 1. It's right here. That's my answer to that particular task. So don't get lost or hung up on this very last page. If you did all 10 tasks, you're done. So tell the proctor you're done and off you go. Very helpful. The reason we record this webinar is so you can go back and watch this in slow motion. Not that I did it that fast, and you can somebody tell me what I did wrong. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I did task number 1 wrong, and I don't know why I couldn't figure out task 2. I kind of gave up. Boy, I may or may not have passed, but I didn't panic. And please don't panic during the exam. That's not going to help you in any capacity. You have time. I'm glad somebody said they passed me. That's very helpful. I feel better. And take some time when you're done with the exam to just kind of relax. You're not going to get the answer. You're not going to get your results right away. That gives you time to sort of rethink and you know, if you failed it and I tell you right away you failed it, you're going to feel bad. You're going to be mad at me. And so, you know, give you a few days. To say that it takes 3 days to grade it or 4 days, whatever, it's really arbitrary. It's really when I sit down to grade exams, you might get your results in a day, in an hour. It might be 3 days. It just depends. It's just all random. So it's whenever I go to work. Some more logistics. Can I have a drink of water during the exam? I think I mentioned that already. You can have a drink. You can have a little snack. You only have 2 hours. If you need to use the restroom, you can, but you don't get to pause the exam. You get 2 hours. Once it starts, you get 2 hours. If you need to take a 10-minute break, you lose that 10 minutes. So people ask me about the passing score all the time. There are different versions of this exam, different variants, and each variant has a different passing score because they're different exams. So my advice when it comes to, you know, trying to pass the exam is do every task. Please try every task. Even if you're lost, save it for the end. You'll never know if you get, even getting 1 or 2 points on a task can push you into the, you know, push you above a passing score. It's well worth your time to, you know, if I tell you to, this is going to seem kind of dumb, but if I tell you to create a line chart or something, or create a map and call it task 2, you might get a point for creating a map called task 2, and that map might not be anything relevant to the question. So just keep that in mind, that it's really, you know, at least try every task. That helps a lot. This exam, this particular exam, I think 2 hours is plenty of time. Now, not a lot of people have taken the exam yet. I've only had maybe 15 people take the exam so far. People have not had any stress of the 2 hours. So I feel like there's plenty of time to do it. I personally don't think there's anything that's meant to trick you. I very purposely try to avoid that in any exam I write. I don't expect anything on this exam to be purposely tricky. So don't overthink anything. Just do what I tell you to do. And if you don't know how to do it, you're probably in trouble. So, and go back and prepare better the next time, I suppose. The certification is valid for 2 years. And when you pass the exam, you'll get a digital badge. Now you'll get a URL just for you. You can see it here on the screen. I picked one of our employees, Daniel Schneider. He's one of our education instructors here, education engineers. Daniel passed the exam last week. He's one of the first people to do so. He's in Zurich. This is his custom URL. It's unique to him. He can share this with his employers, his prospective employers. You can put it on LinkedIn. If you want to share it on LinkedIn, Daniel could click it down here. Notice the Facebook, the Twitter, Pinterest. If you want to share it on LinkedIn, you want to click this button right here, share to his LinkedIn feed. I don't want to share that on mine. Good Lord, I didn't mean to click on that. Okay. All right. So, and then you get a digital badge. Feel free to share that. It's the same thing. It's the same URL. One's the badge. This is a nice PDF file that you can download and print and frame or whatever you want to do. So you'll notice that Daniel has multiple credentials. He's also an Elastic certified engineer. And again, this is his URL. This is his public profile. I'm not logged in. I'm just looking at it. You can share this once you get certified. So very cool. You know, I gave you a lot of tips and tricks on the exam. That's very much a part of this particular webinar. But what I really wanted you to see in this webinar is what the exam environment looks like. So when I worked through those 3 tasks, I think that's very important, you know, that you saw that. I really want you to see what it looks like. Do you get a coin? We're working on the coin. Nikki's here on the call, and yeah, you don't get anything right now because of this wonderful era of COVID-19. We don't ship anything to anybody. So you'll get a coin eventually whenever we start to ship things again from our warehouse. 2 years, but to get recertified, it won't be a big challenge. We're working on how to get recertified. So are there a lot of tasks on machine learning? Well, look, the whole exam's only 10 tasks. It's a really good question, by the way. I like it a lot, because when you look at all the things that I could ask you, if you go to the exam objectives and there's like, 30 exam objectives and machine learning is only one of them, don't expect to get a lot. I would expect maybe one. You certainly should know how to use the machine learning tool. Don't be surprised if there's one machine learning task. 2 would be a lot. So yeah, there's a winner already. We picked Kate. If you have any questions, and I have a nice little slide here. If you have any questions, the FAQ page is a must. You got to go there and read it. Please send an email to certification@elastic.co. That comes in my inbox and also Nikki's inbox. We're happy to answer any questions. So somebody asked, is timeline on the exam? That's not on the exam. It's not mentioned here. It's a really good question to ask. If you don't see it mentioned on this page, then it's not on the exam. If you fail the exam, you have to wait 14 days to take it a second time, and it's $300 per attempt. So would the free training cover all those topics? No, it doesn't. The free training is really just kind of an introduction to all of our products. So not really. I think the training, if you go to our training page, I think that Kibana course, this is the course that we recommend you take. And I don't know what it costs, but you can see we have it all the time. We offer it all the time virtually. I don't know, Nikki, what does it cost? I think it's $2,400. But if you're already familiar with Kibana, I mean, you can certainly try the exam. If you want a discount, reach out to your sales rep. Sales rep might be able to give you a discount. There's no book available for this exam. It's a good question. The exam just came out. I mean, this webinar is it. Everything you need to know about this exam is in this webinar. So, the best major version to look at right now is 7.6 because that's what the exam is on. So, but that can change. I don't think the exam will upgrade to a later version until probably 8, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. So just keep an eye on the FAQ page when it comes to version numbers. Someone asked, is it better to start with analysis than engineer? It really, those are two different tracks. Those aren't even necessarily the same people. If you need to know all of it, then it probably doesn't matter where you start. Those two exams are not really, they're really sort of disjointed, those two sets of people. But a lot of people are certified as both. If you're a certified engineer, you'll have a little Kibana experience, but you'll still need to learn a lot to pass the analyst exam. So, yeah. So someone asked, does engineer 1 and 2 help with the analyst exam? Not a lot, not really. A little bit. Lots of benefits to getting certified. What I love, and I probably won't be able to find it. That's okay. But we have this. If you're on this little website here that shows you what these badges are, and if you look like here at the Elastic Certified Analyst, I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there. We have this on our website. You can see like the skills that are in demand right now are pretty high, and the salaries are not bad either, obviously. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for getting certified. The Elastic certifications, I mean, they have a fairly decent reputation because they're not multiple choice. They're hands-on. It's proof that you know how to do something. The training subscriptions, and our sales team will love that somebody asked a question about training subscriptions. We have 3 of them: basic, standard, and professional. I'm going to say $3,600, $4,600, $5,600. I believe that's the difference in prices. The basic and standard is all on demand. There's no live instructor, but you get access to every training course that we have that's available on demand. You also get 2 certification exam attempts and 1 free practice exam attempt. And then if you have a professional subscription, you get instructor-led training. That's the virtual courses, so it's a really nice deal. You also get 4 exam attempts and 2 practice. There is a webinar for the engineer exam, by the way. Somebody asked about a webinar for the Elasticsearch engineer exam. We already have one. The analyst, this exam is brand new. Somebody asked how many certified analysts there are in the world. I'm going to say 10. I don't know, less than 15, because not that many people have taken the exam yet. You'd be one of the first for sure. Of course, it's June 18th. If you're watching this webinar 6-7 months from now, that'll be a different number, obviously. Thanks, everybody. I want to wrap up the webinar just so it makes for a nice recording. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. This will be recorded, should be available within a few days. Fun. I really enjoyed this. Love doing it. Good luck, everybody.